In my last video, we have talked about the table expression. Table expression to use for reading a table with the index number, with the where condition with key field, and how to find out the particular table entries exist in that table or not. Or not only that, at last we check like that how to get the index of the particular line. In this video, what we will do, we will compare the performance of the classical way of doing the things, how we were writing the read statement, and now with the table expression, syntax got much better. We can write easily, or we can write in fewer lines. But is it performance wise good, or when to use which one? For that, I have created one new program, GTab expression performance. So since I have already explained all the syntax in my last video, in this video I will go through this program. We will see how each read statement is performing when we are running, and which one is the faster in which condition. So for that, I have, as usual I created one GTab express performance program. Inside this program, we have one local demo class, and we have a static main method which we are calling in the main method. So inside the main method, if I open the main method, I am initializing this class because I have to use some instance method of this local class. So I have initialized this class, and this main method, since it is a static method, I can't call directly instance method in the static method. So that is the reason I have initialized this one, and I have created two methods. One is the fill random number in the table. So I need some table, not the simple table which we usually use, either VBAK, VBAP, any other table. I need some table which is used in entries, and from that table I have to read some data. So for that, I have to create that internal table. So this internal table will consist of one, the ID number means 1 2 3 4 5, how many entries are there, ID, and the second will be the value can be any random number. So I have created this internal table ty struct, and I created this will be the sorted table type of ty struct with unique key ID will be the ID 1231, and I have created with this table is the table name is this. I can declare nearby so we can understand easily. So I created this internal table. So in first method, what I am doing, I am filling this internal table with the random number. There is two field you can see. One is the ID field, second is the value field. So ID field I will fill with the 1 2 3, and value I will fill any random number I will fill. So after this internal table is having data, what I will do, I will try to read this internal table with the different kind of read statement, normal read statement with the table expression, with I will try to check that that particular entries exist or not, with the both way, by using the transporting no field and by using the table index as well. So that I am doing in my second method, execute, where I am passing which ID you have to search for and what is the user you are going to search for. So that user where I will use, I will tell you, but basically I'm passing the ID in entire internal table, which ID you want to search for. Okay, so like that I'm doing. So let me explain how I am getting the entries in this internal table, this random internal table. For that, I have created this fill random internal table. So in this, I have again one interface. I have initialized this one, and there is class called CL random number. It will generate any random number. So I initialize with some number 78348. Based on that, it will generate this internal number. In this method, I am passing two things. One is the size, and second is the repeat. So first field where I am using the repeat means how many time you want to how many time you want to repeat, and the size means so the size of our internal table will be how much, what will be the size of our internal table. So in this case you can see the size is 10,235, means there will be around 10,235 entries. And in the internal table, what I am doing, I am looping to 10,000 times, and I am inserting each time the psi index value in the ID field, and any random number which is generating through this value, that through this particular class method get random number, that I am getting, and I am putting this random number and ID in the internal table. So I will be having total entries based on this size. Okay, and there is something called default. This will be useful when we use the read operation with the default. If there is no entry, I want to fill this entry, so this will be our default value. Like that we have created this random internal table. This is just for the information how I created random internal table. The main thing is we are going to read this internal table. That's the main thing. Okay, so first thing for the reading part we are doing in the execution part. This is the execute method. Inside the execute method, what we are doing, let me minimize this one and open the execute method. This execute method will have the start time, this is stop time, and there is structure ls random number to read inside. I will gonna read some data. So in which work area I will read into this ls random number read. So there is something called start timer and stop timer. You can see start timer and stop timer. So these are the macros I have created. So if you see, first start timer macro I want to show you. Macro is nothing. If we want to repeat something again and again in the code lines, so we can write for that same macro again and again. So you can see define. If I define the macro, Control C, let me show you what can be the alternative. What would have I done if I didn't define the macro? So this is the first macro. Inside this macro, define start time and end of definition. I have 2 lines, and stop timer I have again 3 lines like this. Control C and Control V. So these are the 2 macros we are doing. Shift F1. This is the start timer macro, and this is the end timer macro. In between, I am calling this if and end and read statement. Different kind of read statement. Control V. One read statement I will show you, and you can see this. There is different kind of read statement. In this case, I called to check that particular line exists or not, whatever we want to read. So as of now we have passed the 5th line, so this is available or not in this particular. So I want to read and check. So how much time it, so I'm getting the starting time, then I repeated this time, and I just read this time. Read and repeat means, why we are using repeat, as I told you, we have something called repeat. How many times we have to read, because single read I can't count the seconds and all, it's very minimal seconds. So I have to I'm reading same entry 10,000 times, so I can get how exactly it is taking the time. So around this is not 10,000, approximately 10 lakh time. It's approximately 1 million time I'm reading the same entry, and once I read same entry again and again, what was the starting time and what was the end time, that I'm calculating and I'm putting in the final table. So this statement and this statement are same. this statement I have written using the macros called start timer. In the start timer I have the these two lines, then I have this read statement, as you can see here. Then the and stop timer I have the macro called this one. In the end my stop timer I am passing this one, control C, as a 1. So I can see this one. Instead of writing this, I can write like this as well. So this is nothing I'm passing inside the string, this particular string I'm passing. Not like this. This is string. Sorry. So this is string I'm passing inside this macro, where I am using when I have filled this particular internal final table. So you can see, so these statement and these statement are similar. Why I have created macro? I don't want to repeat this statement and again and again. I just have written start timer, stop timer, start timer, stop timer, with I am passing what I am doing, so I can display in my final output. Like that I am doing. So I hope you understood this program. So I will just go through the what all are the statement I'm running in between start timer and end timer. First statement, first one is the line exist, where I'm checking just that particular ID which we have passed, that particular line exists or not. Second statement, what I am doing, I'm doing the same thing. I'm checking the line exists or not, but using the transporting no field. So this is this statement and this statement basically doing the same, but this is the classical way of doing, and this is the newer way of new syntax of doing the same thing. Read table with transporting no field. And third read statement, what I am doing, I am reading that table with key which I have passed in this. As of now I have passed 5. I want to read 5th entry, so I have passed the 5th entry, and I'm checking that how much time it is taking, this read statement without key, primary key, I'm not passing any key. I just pass the field and I'm just checking how much time it is taking. And this is the newer variant of this try catch block with the table expression. I wrote the same statement. I already explained the table expression syntax in my last video. Just to this try, instead of doing the simple read statement, I wrote the try catch block, and this I'm reading inside this particular entry in this work area, and we will compare this both the things, which is the faster. And the third thing is assign. Instead of writing try inside the try catch block, I wrote using the assign statement, and I checked the size abasi. So here, instead of getting the error or catch, I'm checking the read is passed or not. That is the reason I use the size abasi. There is another variant of doing the same thing. Instead of writing the try catch, we can write this assign to field symbol, and we have another variant called value operator as well. We can read with value operator, but we have to make sure, we have to tell that it is optional. There is no entry. Don't give the dump. So this again, but again I have to check this code field because I'm not checking the size abasi over here. So I have to check this code initial or not, like that I have to check. So this we are doing. And then again there is another variant. This was with if statement. This is the correct to find out how much time it will take. Without if statement, I also checked if we don't use if statement and just read it out how much time, but it is not relevant. We have to check if statement, because we for the read statement we are checking the size abasi. In this case we have to check the if statement. Let's see for just the comparison purpose. And the another variant, default, if my default, as I told you, I put some value in my default as well in our in this method. So I can, if there is no value, so I can find and I put the my default value. So like that default value, you have to put this value if there is no entry. Okay. And last but not least, there is the reference variable also. Instead of getting the direct value, I'm getting the reference, and at last I'm getting the index of the table. So this all the things we are doing in the timer. We will get the time for execution, how much time it is taking to execute 10,000 times. So let me read instead of fifth line, because that's very easy to read fifth line. Let me read I with ID, some bigger ID. I will read with some 500 line like that. Let me activate Control F3. These both will be available. Let one more thing I can do before the doing this, starting the timer. I have the entries already filled random table. I will display the random table as well. So what I will do, cl underscore demo underscore output. This will be one time only. Output, write this particular random table which we have created. So what random table we have created? This one is this. Control C. Let me close the console as of now. This is not needed. So let me pass this one. Control V. IT random number I'm passing, and I'm writing this one. It is telling that within the static method only static. Okay, let me write down not on why to write here. Control X. I can use only static. So after the random number got filled, here itself I will write Shift F1, Control F3. Let me do F9. It's taking time to run. So let me increase little bit this one. It got slow. I think system got slow. So you can see I got around 10,235 entries, which I have entered. I want to get 10,235 entries. I'm reading the 500th line. So you can see if we compare, so it's a comparison basically, and this time is basically in microseconds. So we can say it's a 0.4 second, 0.485877 second. So it's not even 1 second to take that execution time for 10,000 time. It is not taking even 1 second. So you can, if I compare the read statement and without transporting, you can see surprisingly our newer syntax is taking more time. It's minor difference. It's not negligible. We can say it's 48 for one read. It is take very less time. Divide by 10,000. So you can assume how much. But there is, if you want to compare the performance wise, even this line exists little bit take more time, even though the syntax is good, but it's taking little bit more time. And again the read table, we can see the surprisingly with default and optional without if it is, we should not check without if, we have to check with if. That's the main thing. So read and this value operator we have to check with if. Without if means we are not checking size of RC in the read statement. So without if we can ignore, but read table is still working very faster than this try catch, than this value operator, and then the assign item at last. Performance wise, these are the sequence actually, and the line index and reference is taking too much time. So you can see our classical read statements are taking lesser time as compared to our new syntax. So that's a very important thing for us. So but it's a very negligible, we can ignore it if we want, if we want to really use the line newer syntax. But I will recommend wherever you are using the for loops, wherever we really need the newer syntax, you should go for the newer syntax. And if you not use also newer syntax, it is fine, then you can go with your classical syntax as well. So the performance wise, as I can see that older syntax is work faster than the newer syntax. Let me compare one more. This is the positive scenario where we got the entries. If there is the scenario like that, let me execute this multiple time instead of executing one time. We can see we are getting the same result or not. Control Shift less than, let me activate. I don't want to display this table again and again. Let me clear out the console. Let me control F3, and let me execute this particular program two to three times to check the performance, how it will work. So I did F9. I got the first time result. Meanwhile, I will do one more time F9. So you can see still read table transporting no field is taking lesser time than the line exists, and same goes with this read table is taking lesser time with the as compared to try catch and our new value operator. Ignore this both of thing. Inside this we didn't check size abasi, or we didn't check this values got filled or not. So these because without if we are checking, if I want to show you without if, what I mean by without if means I'm not checking once I got the value, I'm not checking I got really valued or not, but I have to check ideally value I got or not after each, like we do with the size abasi. So this is very important thing that you can see I executed second time also. Time might be difference, there is little bit time difference, but still the read is performing well than the line exists. And second thing, value value without if ignore read table is working with better than the try catch block, value of assign item, and everything. It is working with faster than that one. If you compare between the try catch block and the value optional, obviously you can see try catch block is working faster than this value operator, and you can I executed second time also. Now these are the positive scenario. Now let me clear out the console and run the same thing with the negative scenario, where I will not get any entry at all. This entry is not available at all. Control Shift less than, let me do, this is Control C, Control V, Control F3. Let me do F9, and I want to see that really this entry is available or not. Let me clear out the console. F9. So this time what will happen, since the entry itself not existing, so it will traverse to entire internal table, because I didn't use sorted key or anything. So still you can see read table and read transporting table is transporting with not a field is faster than our existing things, but line existing is not faster, and assign item is little bit faster if there is no entry. And you can see the value with the value operator is performing worse than as compared to other, and try catch block you can see this is also performing worse if we are not having any entry in that particular table. So you have to make sure, you have to take your judgment and you have to use, but it is very minor difference. As I am repeating again, it's a very minor difference. Even I am reading the 10,000 times same syntax, it's giving it's only taking 0.45897 second. It's in microsecond. So you have to take your judgment before using that. I hope